Well, hey, Gundam Maniacs, welcome to another episode of Gundam Explained. Today we're looking at an awesome one I've been waiting for forever, and there were some shipping delays to it, but it finally came in. This is the Metal Robot Spirits Hazel. So it's like the RX-121-1 TR-1. Very awesome to have a Metal Robot Spirits of this mobile suit because it's my favorite mobile suit. And I just recently built the high-grade version, detailed it and everything. So I'm also going to do a comparison of those two. So yeah, let's get to it. Hey, and if you haven't, please subscribe. Check out the links in the description for the Patreon, the Discord, a lot of community events going on, but let's get started. All right, and so here we have it. Here is the Hazel. It's on a neat stand. We see this with some of the Metal Robot Spirits or just some really, I guess, higher end Robot Spirits in general. But yeah, it's great to have a stand like this because the figure itself is just so awesome. Here it is, just decked out in one of the few configurations it has. Yeah, again, very cool looking. So let me take it off the stand, take off its parts, and we'll have a closer look. All right, and again, the cool thing about this is that it's a metal robot spirit. So you can kind of see on the back of the box, it shows where all the insides, like the frame of it, the joints, articulation, all this stuff is metal, and that makes it hefty. That makes it feel good in the hand. It's just really a high quality figure, but it's cool to kind of get an idea exactly of what is metal, which it's quite a lot. And here it is. As you look at it, you can tell on it what is metal. There's some things that are sticking out. Like there's this piece right here. This removes as well, so that could be a metal part, unless they just painted that. But you can even see with the joints here how it has that same shine there. And yeah, it's all around this thing. You can really get a good look at that metal, even below the head here, which is actually kind of hard to articulate right in there. Also, what's cool about this is some of the paint. So like on here, this kind of has a shine to it. And even as we turn around back here, we can see some more metal parts, like with some of these thrusters back here, the thrusters here. In fact, and some of the mechanism for articulation that's under this back part. But, just getting a cool closer look at the figure, it looks like the evolution of the Mark II, which is what it is. This is, Advance of Zeta, which has to do with the mobile suits and technology and weaponry the Titans were developing. So we have the Titan test team that we'll see on a lot of these Advance of Zeta suits. There's different variations. Sometimes there's the darker, all darker colored. Usually those are the test units, and then there's the deployed units, which Hazel is just an excellent looking one. Again, it's part of my favorite design because I love the look of the Mark II, and this is just an evolution of that. So looking at some articulation, we have the back here that has a bit to it. So there's some things you can add on there. Over on the front here, we have the neck. So it almost seems difficult to move, and it does seem like there is some limits to what you can do with the head. It's not too bad actually. That looks pretty dynamic itself, doesn't it? But it's very sturdy. When you move it, you can feel it, and sometimes I can't really go up too high, but I can go down quite a bit. Some other things, the joints, look at that. So that's not even what we see with the robot spirits, where the actual abdomen itself will move in. This actually just has the shoulder going out all the way. So look at that joint there. So that's a lot of forward movement with the shoulders there. Very well done. We've got the elbows. Yeah, they go up all the way. They just stop where the armor is there. Yeah, the elbow looks good. Okay, moving down to the waist. It has a waist swivel. That seems to be blocked, but that's okay. It doesn't need to go too far. The forward and back, let's see. I don't want to break it, but it doesn't seem like there's too much of a forward. Sometimes if you get it just right, you can get it to do a little more. But yeah, I don't want to risk it too much. Although that forward, it's not bad. Because let's see, the head can drop even more, so you can get it down if needed. But to go back, we've got these thrusters back here. You just got to kind of move them out of the way first. And then even the back, there's not much to it. That just seems like its default position, actually. That is a little disappointing for, flying poses or something. So we've got the side skirts here, kind of the normal thing. They're kind of individually articulated, so you can get them out of the way. The back doesn't move, and this comes off easily. Okay, so you don't risk breaking it, but you can still get a good spread. So, Jobby would be proud. Okay, and with the legs, we just saw how that moved out. This is a giant calf. This is like a honking robot leg, right? And it can move back quite a bit. That's not too bad. It's not all the way, but you got this giant thing here. What do you expect? And we can kind of get a look at the metal in there, and as it moves in. Pretty cool. Down at the feet, we have these little front guards that have their own articulation. The feet themselves have quite a bit of range. There's not independent toe articulation, but the feet do separate to move on their own. And that's really it for articulation. Kind of basic when it comes to not only Gunpla, but robot spirits of the base mobile suit style articulation. Maybe unless I have to kind of fiddle around with it, the only complaint I would have is the lack of the ab movement. That's really the only thing. All right, before we get into accessories, let's actually look at the manual here. Shows off the hands that it comes with, so just enough goodies there. The gun, typical stuff, because again, the Hazel is just kind of the next step of what's very typical with a early Gundam or GM. So a lot of these things are going to look familiar, like the guns, obviously the shield, and the typical things we see for connecting a shield on. Showing off some of the articulation so we can see where that knee gets that bend. We saw the articulation of that back piece as well, and even the legs and how you can take off the ammo that we're seeing on the side skirt. But yeah, nothing that talks about the waist, it looks like. Oh yeah, the optional accessories you'll get into. So like on the collarbone area, there's some things you can change out, it's common with even the model kit versions. All right, and then down here, there's some things we'll get into. So some of the accessories where you can swap them out here. And then how to connect the stand, which it's pretty easy. So the unit itself does have a plug on the bottom. It's just strange that you have to plug in a plug into that to have a plug for the stand. Kind of wish it was just built in. Maybe that's just a safety measure, which it's great. Actually, I'll even show it right now. On the stand itself, I just leave that on there. Not that I actually chose to, but when I would take the unit off, that would just stay there. So it doesn't seem too floppy when it's on the stand, but I always try to be careful anyway. All right, so let's look at the accessories here. So I was talking about those hands earlier, and that's just a trademark with these Advanced of Zeta, or the red fingertips. I have a Gunpla video of a previous model kit I built where I painted the hands, but just seeing it done on here, how perfect it looks. And how the color of the hands is not the same. And actually, I'll just do it right now, even though I'm going to get into a deeper dive. Here are the hands that I painted. The top coat kind of dulled the red, and it looks like I could have filled it out a bit more. And you can see there's actually a different color, too, of the hands. The inner frame of the metal versus the Gunpla is a bit different, even though these are squishy. So these aren't going to break on you, but this is also painted to look like the metal frame. Pretty cool. And not only do you have this the dynamic look, you also have the gun trigger finger hand, and then you got a fist, and obviously the beam saber hand. Here is the shield. I really like it. Has the real type markings on it. It's clean, well done. And here it is compared to the other version, the Gunpla, where even that sticker just does not look good. I need to get a water slide for that, or use the decal softener on there to kind of help put it in. But otherwise, it looks very similar. You can see the scale is slightly different. But you can make them look very similar just by getting some extra decals to pop on the Gunpla. And then we've also got this piece that sticks on the front that gives it the extra hands, and I'll get into that in a little bit. And I wanted to bring over this other Gunpla I have that it actually has that same unit on the front. And I believe even the Gunplas are interchangeable with that in general. But here it's just, to kind of see, here, I'll flip around, how similar they are and what they do. and what they're for. All right, here are these little bits that plug into the collarbone, and I'll kind of show that off a little later. And we've got a total of 3 beam saber hilts, and they have some detail on them, so it looks nice. You know, there's one already plugged in, but the 2 others, so you can have it tri-wielding. And then for that, you get 3 beam saber effect parts. They have a slight glistening texture to them that's not too common, unless I just didn't realize that. All right, and then lastly, kind of the neat gimmick thingy with this is the little shield here that it uses, and there's actually 3 of them, and they have these connector pieces that you can plug and unplug depending on how you want to use them. And actually, for comparison, again, here's the model kit version over here. The sticker is, or the decal for the Titan's test team is a little different. Moving down, there's just some different scale in general, and even with the paint, this is a work in progress. I'm trying to match it with not this, but actually just some other artwork I found on the internet. And I just wanted to get started on that, but I need to like completely fill that in. But I tell you, these decals just not look good. I need to get a water slide. I do not. Looks. And then even the bottom here, I had to paint that yellow, but it's not the right yellow. But still, it's very similar. Okay, and then I wanted to get a detailed look at both of these. On the left, is the Gunpla version that I built. It's a high grade. I have it decaled, panel lined. I also have a top coat on there. And I looked online for some references to see how to properly detail it. And, you know, I got to say, like, this is probably something I'll work on again, because for some of the detailing, like on the knee there, I needed to use some masking tape or something to kind of help keep the line straight. And then we can look on this version. We can see it's more of a silver. So I might just change the color on that. We can even see like there's some red on the skirts here, and it's missing there. And there's also some like real type markings too. That would be cool. Yeah, and then the stickers on the side, they have that Titan's test team. Although it's interesting how, you know, different they look. One is more squished, and then over here it's taller, I guess. I don't understand. They're kind of different, but no, just some other little details we can see where there's just some different things going on. It's not too different, but just enough where they're not exactly the same. And I know that's not, I mean, it's not too big of a deal. You know, I guess they're interpretations of the illustrations that were done in a comic. So I don't know what would be considered more official. Even the V-fins look a little different on how they come out of the head. That's very interesting. Yeah, even looking at the face, you know, the face itself, they both look a bit different. I didn't really notice that before, but it's kind of interesting how many differences there are. And on the top, that doesn't look painted well, but reference photos showed the red there, and there's actually none on this. It's just plain like that. So it's interesting seeing these differences. It doesn't really mean anything in the end, but, you know, when I'm building my Gunpla, I like to make them as detailed and accurate as possible. All right, so for this front piece here, let's try to take that off. And then try to plug this in. Let's see, gotta feel around for that. And then plug this back in. All right, got that plugged back in. And so here it is with its little front thing that gives it the extra arms. And then so here's the shield you can put on. There's a little connector that just plugs in. I'm going to be putting this back on because I thought that looked cool. So you can see with the shields on how much moving around there is actually on this hinge and on the ball joint. Okay, so for this front here, this is where there's those extra arms that fold out here, and it has a little piece here so you can try to grab onto that and pull it out. Let's see if I... Okay, so that is kind of a little difficult. You have to like get right at the edge there, flip it open. And then it's got the other part of that claw. Let's see if I can even lift that up. Is that? Yeah, there we go. That is tiny. So that's a hand. All right, real quick here, is it holding the beam saber? Seems to be doing a good job. So far, so good. You know, I wanted to take time to go over the articulation on this. So there's actually this piece here that it has its own rotation, but, you know, it's kind of hard to do. But yeah, there you saw that it turned. That can kind of give the range for this bottom piece that's kind of more on this hinge here. And then obviously this other one that is as well. So you kind of got to play around it depending on how you're wanting it to look, I guess, when it's operating the beam sabers. Like, here's a sick look. I mean, it's just awesome that it's got this extra, you know, pair of arms that we see that with some other Titans. The Bjarlint does it. And then some like future mobile suits, like we see in Unicorn, do the same thing. Yeah, pretty cool there. Pretty cool. So I gotta say, I'm just messing with this, and when you're posing it or putting it back, it's like this thing could pop out easily, and it's hard to like turn this up here. Which I guess it's good that it's sturdy like that, but it might take you a second to really configure it the way you want it. All right, let's look at the pieces on the collarbone I was talking about. Got the head off. That was scary. There's these two things here. All right, so let's look at this here. So if we can take this out, let's see, does it come out easily? It seems like it wants to. Okay, there we go. So since it's wedged in there, you might want to try to get your finger in there and like pull it outward. I don't know if that's even working. Because trying to pull it from there. All right, got it out. Don't feel confident with how I did it. All right, here's a quick look at the other options that you can put on. They go on either side. So you can do a bunch of different combinations. Well, and there you have it. One of my favorite mobile suits. And I just think it's amazing to get a Metal Robot Spirits version. For me, as I collect things, that's like my favorite line are the Metal Robot Spirits. Hey, the Gumpla was cool. Like, that seemed to be the only way to get these Advance of Zeta mobile suits. But I'm just glad they have the Metal Robot Spirits version. Anyway, so let me know what you think. What do you think about the Advance of Zeta suits or even the Metal Robot Spirits? And did you happen to grab one? I know an interesting thing had to do with the quality control issues I saw early on with people when they were getting them. I didn't have any of that. In fact, the only issues I say I'd have were just the engineering, had to do with the articulation. Some things are a little hard to manage, like popping the head off. It feels like I'm going to break it, but I don't. So far. Another thing with the effect parts is none of the thrusters are able to take the effect parts from other robot spirits, and I wish they made that universal because I really love the thrusters. Although there's easy way around that. Just get some blue sticky tack, plug it into the thruster, and then you can get your thruster effect part in there. I think that works. But anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll talk later.